tentang pengurusan mampan cemerlang sebentar saja tadi. Jadi jika tak ada apa-apa, baiklah kita teruskan, iaitu Technical Specialist Dr. Norsaidatul Akmar Mazelan yang merupakan Setiausaha Kehormat SustNET. Untuk pengetahuan para hadis di Malaya, Malaysia, diploma dalam pentadbiran awam MBA UNTUK Amerika Syarikat, mempunyai PhD pengurusan strategik di United Kingdom dan diperkui the trainer dari College Babson. Beliau juga merupakan jurulatih bertauliah 2021 dalam dana pembangunan sumber manusia dan beliau merupakan pakar teknikal berdaftar Technologies Malaysia MBOT dan juga penerima anugerah kelestarian GPM 2015 Amerika Syarikat. Dengan ini, Majlis dengan segala hormatnya mempersilakan Technical Specialist Dr. Norsaidatul untuk membicarakan tentang kepentingan leadership dalam pengurusan projek mampan. Dengan segala hormatnya, dipersilakan Dr. Nur.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good morning to everyone. Terima kasih kepada semua para hadirin yang telah pun hadir pada hari ini. Saya tahu ramai orang nak masuk dalam session ni sebab kita juga ada kengkangan dalam teknologi walaupun kita dah cuba untuk masuk dalam Webex sebelum ni, tapi atas arahan tertentu kita dibenarkan untuk guna Zoom ya. So of course Zoom memang ada sedikit technical dari segi number yang boleh masuk sebab bandwidth akan turun kalau more than 100. That's why kita masuk ke dalam Facebook. So siapa yang nak dengar dalam Facebook boleh masuk ke Facebook. And then for those yang nakkan slides tu, kita akan bagikan slides and then of course the recording session lah ya. So not to worry about whatever the thing that you have missed because there will be another webinar also. Something similar in the coming month of June, which is on June 17, where we have another set of speakers that you can also benefit to hear a lot of things. So let me continue. Thank you, Anissa, for being the MC for today. All right. So Anissa being one of the students from itself, from Muslim Malaya, who have volunteered to become the MC for SustNET today. And what is more important is that she got attracted to the activity of sustainability because it is not about the main thing. I think every university also has got to get into sustainability because it is a subject of today, not just a subject of yesterday or of the past. Yeah. So in my today's session, I'm going to share with you something yang probably some of you have heard it before or probably you have not because this is current news. All right. Now, when we talk about project management, a lot of time people think this is just one subject of its own. Dia macam benda tu stand alone aja. Dia tak ada kena-mengena dengan business, tak ada kena-mengena dengan ekonomi, tak ada kena-mengena dengan social activity ataupun CSR activity because everybody think that this is just a one standalone. So when I got to know about GPM in the year 2014 is because of the past work that I have been doing under Ministry of Ministry of Finance. Ministry of Finance and Prime Minister's Department that time, we were all looking at project assessment. And of course, the tools that we were using in those days under project assessment was tools yang tak ada kaitan dengan impact assessment. All the time, it was more about financial impact. So, manakah aktiviti yang kalau kita buat aktiviti yang kena-mengena dengan community, tapi assessmentnya tak ada untuk digunakan untuk menilai tentang the effectiveness of the project manager and also to what extent the money spent is used in the correct way. So due to that, that is why the importance of this leadership in project management is not because it is what they call a subject that it is only meant for people who are interested. It is a subject matter for all, whether you are a businessman, whether you are a trainer, whether you are an owner of a factory. Project management is key. Without project, you cannot do the business. All right, without business, you cannot start your own, what I call a community program or whatever, yeah? So therefore, everything starts with the project. Now, a lot of people think that leadership is not important in project. It has a lot of it. That is why you see a lot of courses in project management always talk about leadership, whether it's agile leadership, whether it's strategic management leadership, it's all about the driving factor. It's about a lot of things related to the skill of the competency. Now, project management is a competency. Now, many people think that it is just what I call an activity that can be done in groups, an activity that is just, can be considered as less important. No, without project management skill, you cannot deliver. Right? You need to have. That is why one of the most important professional certificate in project management is PMP. But why is it in the year before, nobody talked about sustainability? I will tell you the history behind all this. But because GPM, who come from that project management professionals, they then saw the gap. Yeah, they then saw the gap, and they also know why a lot of projects around the world fail. Because a lot of projects, this didn't go very well, because a lot of it was abused, a lot of it was wasted, a lot of it doesn't go according to the timeline, and there's a lot of corruption, there's a lot of things, even though they are competent to handle the project. So there's a question mark. If you are competent to handle a project, why does a project fail? So that means there is an element of loophole in understanding what are the ethical elements, what are the do's and don'ts, and what are the areas of risk management that people do not control. So at the end of the day, the purpose of the project is always derailed because people always look at the point of time, resources, efficiency, not in the purpose of giving back the value. You have seen people going to third world country, even people coming to Malaysia, where they abuse our labor because they think that they can just get the profit and remove everything else. So that is why you see now the factor of sustainability is just not about 3P, it's 5P. You got to give back to the community and you got to give back to the planet, because it's not just about profit. Now, how many of you really understood that project management skill is not something that come new? It comes with a lot of people who have already got the understanding about the International Project Management Association that is already driving a lot of things. So happen, I have been a driver of SustNET since 2015, because of my background and where I was before, I could see already that sustainability become one of the most important element of assessment. But because it was my job before, and I'm sure a lot of you did not know about it because it was not your job earlier. It was my job earlier. That is why when we talk about giving incentive, we want to talk about giving pioneer status, we want to talk about giving any program related to government budget, people do for assessment, people do due diligence, people do a lot of risk management because it is project. So now, how many of you really understood the fact that if you want to get into project, you got to be competent. Without competency, you can't get into a project. Now, this is where, when we talk about the journey, it is a long journey. SustNET is not something that it came yesterday. It came with the purpose that it has to get into training. It has to get into workshop. It has got to get into the community. It's got to get into the policy. It's got to get into the government agenda, because it is a compliance. Now, how many of the people really understood this compliance? Because this compliance is not just local compliance, it's an international compliance. That is why it takes a lot of effort for people who have got leadership to move this. So if POLYCC is a leader in community development, is a leader in driving education, you need to have your leadership. How do you bring sustainability into your project? How do you lead the community? Because that is your skill. So if you do not bring that skill out of your module, that means you do not have it. So this is where when we give you the tools, the P5 tools, is for you to apply in your project and you adopt it and become a practitioner. But once you become a practitioner, you certify yourself because you become a competent person. Many people doesn't want to become competent because they kata takut nak ambil exam, takut nak ditauliah, takut nak dapat kerja tambah, takut nanti orang kata apa. Why? It's because people doesn't want to work the way that we should do. Why German? Why Sweden? Why Finland? Why America? Why Russia? Why are they so advanced? Because they have leadership. They bring out their project management talent to handle something beyond innovation. Kita boleh buat satu innovation, kita kata dah habis, dah cukup, tak ada budget, tak ada innovation. I have been giving fund in the innovation ever since 1985. But where has our innovation gone to? It is just part of research, but it's never even gone to the community. So this is where we want to work on the reverse order. We want to make sure that now when you have a project, we want to handle your project in a manner we look at impact. Now, kalau orang kata adalah ini semua dalam bahasa yang kita tak kenal. Project management dah ada dalam bahasa Malaysia. Even GPM is already translated in 9 languages. Easy if you want to get to know what project management is on sustainability. Now, but what have you understood? What has been going on in the world? A lot of people think that project management was really a small scale when it comes to sustainability. It's no longer a small scale. The big giant like Project Management Institute, the leader of project management, they have to kowtow, they have to stood down to GPM because they do not have the tools. When they found out about GPM in the year 2012, they want to buy over. They want to silence it off because they think their certification is the best. But GPM knew your PN book does not have the sustainability framework. So when you want to lead, you want to become a leader, you fight it all out. You put up your trump card. You tell the people what the people do not have and why they are doing it wrong. Until now, when PMI knew sustainability is everywhere, do they have the tools? Do they have the framework? They don't have. They have to call GPM. They say we have to collaborate. We have to work together. We need the tools. We need the framework. So if you're talking about GPM, but the GPM is leading or PMI is leading, it's GPM is leading. Because GPM has the framework on sustainability, which PMI doesn't have. That's why now it's a global phenomenon. You can talk to any PMI chapters. They have to take in the green project management module for them to understand what is sustainability framework. Now, all of you POLYCC have been exposed on the sustainability framework way back in 2019 when JPPKK brought in the blueprint of POLYCC. Now, when you have the blueprint, you have adopted the framework. Are you using it? Do you know that this is the standard? That maybe you don't know because you don't know what's going on around the world. This is where I share with you about leadership. When you are already a leader, bring out the leadership. You don't sink down that leadership. You expose your talent, right? So what is the global news is that you got to find out. You can Google all the partnership in all PMI have now agreed they will have to use GPM for sustainability framework because they do not have the tools of the P5. Now, if you're talking about mazhab Shafi'i, Hanbali, Hanafi, Maliki, those are mazhab because of different school of thoughts. Previously, it's the same thing. PMI have got their own school of thoughts. Prince 2 have got their own school of thoughts. Agile principal has got their own school of thoughts. GPM has all the school of thoughts. But who has got the sustainability framework? It's only GPM. So that's why everybody know they have to collaborate. They have to think alike. Maybe when they discuss, they don't discuss in the level of how we look at project, because their project management is on the high level. So if you look at where project management is right now, we are in the highest echelon. No one have that framework except GPM. That is why PMI is willing to bring in, out of their 12 certification in all their chapters, GPM is going to be one of their latest certification, because they have no other module to bring in on sustainability except for GPM module. So that is an acceptance of the global level. That is what I call leadership. You bring out people who have got the talent. Now, for those who have not exposed on P5, Engineer Hisham has bring it out, and I'm sure who have brought in by JPPKK earlier on the P5 standard, you probably have got some knowledge about it. We have given you a workshop. You have to sharpen back your application because it's a tool. Now, if you do not use the tool and you do not become a practitioner for it, you juga yang rugi, because that is the skill. So how do you upgrade your skill? You have to ensure you qualify for it. So how do you qualify? We assess your project. Do you have that qualification to bring out the P5 in your project? That's why we assess, because there is no other country that is as brave as Malaysia to brought in the Malaysia GPM Awards. It's because of my experience in MDEC, my experience in the MSc Multimedia Super Corridor, I brought in bravely, because all other countries, they are willing to compete among the international level for GPM awards. Do you think Malaysia is willing to compete globally? I know Malaysia is not willing to compete to the world because we don't have the talent. That is why I brought in for Malaysia to at least compete among themselves for project management for this under the Malaysia GPM awards. But I know Malaysia don't like competition. Malaysia like to be recognized. That's the reason why we brought in the leadership for recognition. I fight for my suggestion. We must bring in people who have showcased the talent. That's the reason why we can bring in this assessment into the modules, because we know we have given you the right tools, we have given you the right what I call mindset, how to apply, how to adopt, and then showcase. It's not a competition. It's you have to present. You have to give and highlight the reality of your project. It is not a competition. That is why we brought it as a case for every project. So this is leadership. Now, if you look at some of the graphs of all project management graphs, if you want to compare of all the project management modules around the world, who is higher in terms of its cost, you can see the GPM module, the graph of the plot, it's higher than even the PMP. Ini bukan modul yang saya buat, bukan saya yang punya graph. It is done by all the international project managers. They want to compare between the apples and the oranges and the grapes, who has got a better competency in project management. Of course, green project management lead because they are on competency. They are not on exam based. That is the difference. When we brought in something, we must be knowledgeable on what we're bringing in. It is not a curriculum, but it is a competency-based skill program for you to adopt and apply. Now, how we get into the chapter is because we show our interest. Malaysia is a small country. Who bothers? But if we don't bring out our interest, they will not give you a recognition. But if we keep on putting every year our interest to ensure that our project management are at par with the international, they support. That's the reason why we need to keep on supporting ourselves, because without we shining, who will recognize us? Right? Even Indonesia want to copy us. They tak boleh buat. Singapore, they want to do. Tak boleh buat. Brunei or Thailand, they cannot do because they don't have the leadership. You need to understand this kind of sustainability network, it takes a team. It is not one person. That is why when we brought out all our sustainability network on all Asia, even Malaysia has given the house, has given the key. SustNET, you can do the ASEAN GPM awards. I said it's too big for us to handle because Malaysia alone, we have already have our hands full. But the fact that because we have leadership, we can showcase that we can handle ASEAN, that is an international recognition award for us to house. Kalau MICE and Tourism Malaysia sibuk nak suruh buat international event dalam Malaysia untuk bawa turis, untuk bawa investors, we already got an international event to bring in all the players. Alhamdulillah, this year, with all my international network, with all the people in the Halal Muslim community, they are going to come to Malaysia to take the International Halal GPM Awards, inshallah, by the end of this year. That is how we have to make Malaysia tuan rumah. We get to have that sustainability leadership because we yell ourselves, we are very good in halal, Sharia compliance, in sustainability, everything. But do we house and champion people? We don't. That is where we have to lead, okay? Now, under the GPM Awards, we understand it's an award, but do you qualify? That is a criteria that you must meet. Okay, we are not going to reduce the surface of the criteria because it is an international award. But what we did, we said, for those who are not qualified yet, because to enter into this one, you must be a certified GPMB. Now, how many of you here are certified GPMB? Now, when I announced just now, PMI is going to become one of the chapter to promote on GPM certification. Do you know how many of the PMPs is going to become certified GPMB? Because their chapter has already accepted it. Right? Now, of all those GPMBs that is going to come out in future, they can get into this award very naturally because they are already qualified by the terms of GPM, right? So now, if we in Malaysia not compete internationally, all you have to do is become a GPMB and then you promote your project internationally and you can get a global recognition. But I know Malaysia, ramai yang tak nak ambil GPMB because takut exam, mahal lah, bentuk apa, future ada ke, and then where it goes, where does this thing lead to? Because too many soalan yang negatif. They don't understand this is competency for you to lead. Why a lot of Malaysian project roboh, jatuh, tak successful? Because we are not competent. But yet we yell ourselves to say we are competent graduates, we are competent people, but we don't have the skill. So this is where when we talk about sustainability, it's a skill. So we want to give you an award, it's a skill. That is why when people wants to come in, kita bawa orang. Now, if for those people who tak nampak Mak Saleh ni siapa dia, Mak Saleh in 2015, they are already leader in project management. All right? I happen to be working together with project management because of my line of work. But when I know, kalau I tak bawa benda ni in 2015, I will already be too late. It's my vision that I said, I have to bring it down. And these people, they are loyal to the people who are a believer of a principle. If you believe in the principle, means you are on. But if you are just 50-50, not sure, you only want to gain popularity, you just want to get this and that, you got to have all the bureaucracy you want to know, you got this endorse, that endorse, takkan jalan. To me, that is secondary. To get all the endorsement is secondary because I'm from the government. I know what it takes to get all this endorsement. But what is more important, I must get into the hands of project management with the leaders. So if you're talking about ITMA, that's the president of ITMA. We're talking about GPM, that's the president of GPM. They are the people of the highest order. So if we have brought it in, it's not because we want to be champion. It's because we want to lock in our position that we can bring in the talent, the right talent to come out, with the right skills. Now, Alhamdulillah, when Tunku Amir Shah volunteered himself Who are we to go and see him? But when he heard about us, he said, I volunteer to become patron. And this last month, as Engineer Hisham said, we were called and we were asked to report about all the awards that the Malaysian recipients have received. And we mentioned of all the people who have got certain projects, and he was so excited, anything to do with education and youth, because he is very much a youth himself. So he understood what it takes to drive environmental issues. So he is very concerned about ESG, and he would like to visit a few of the polytechnics and the college community in Selangor, because his heart is in Selangor, of course. And he already said, Dr. No, arrange for all those site visits. But are you all ready to receive him? So that's the question. If you have won an award and you are ready to receive him, you will get your publicity, you will get your name recognized, because that is a recognition. All right. So that's what we call leadership. You got to bring out your own talent. Yeah. So this is our recent meeting with him. Now, for those who think that this is a competition, this is not, because that's why we use the word recognition. We want you to stand out and give your presentation. As long as you follow the modules of what we advise you to do, and if you think you qualify yourself because you have all the necessary what it takes, we will assess for you, because our assessors are all certified assessors, right? So this year, maybe we will bring out some international talent, because now we have many good projects. We have projects with a lot of corporates, and the corporates are looking for talented people. Now, if the people are not exposed with all these sustainability tools, where are you going to get all this talent? Malaysia bukan ada manpower yang ada skill macam ni. Tapi kalau you ada project in sustainability and you're using your P5, means we can give you the certificate, we can give you the upskilling certificate, because it is a certificate with ISO. So that is why if you finish your project, you get yourself your certificate for award, you get yourself the upskilling certificate, you are making yourself upskill with the competency. And that is why when we look for consultant later, we will ask those people who have got the upskilling certificate, because that is the criteria for us to assess quality. All right. So that's one of the reasons why for those who wants to go into ESG reporting, you got to be a consultant. So ESG reporting is already an assessment by itself, and a lot of the reporting has got to be aligned with the standards of GRI or United Nations Global Compact. Okay. Now, for those who don't understand what is P5, if you look at the traditional way of managing project, it's all about time, scope, and cost. That's the traditional project management, and it's been an excellent way. But when people know that the environment is at risk and there's a lot of bad benefits that need to be curbed and controlled, that is where we need to then go to a higher order of a framework. Now with P5, that is very much into value and impact based, the assessment is based on the criteria of assessment on impact. That is where it has got a much more higher value driven framework, which I mentioned to you, even PMP do not have the framework, because PMP is more on compliance framework. They are not on value creation framework. That is why they have to go back to GPM to get themselves certified for the P5 framework, okay, and which is called PRISM method. Now, for those who have got the exposure of P5, and I'm sure most of you have got the P5 standards, you got yourself either to work as an individual in your own project, or you go and work in some other organizations, yeah, whether in the corporate world or in any other what they call agencies, because you can have that skill sets to be developed. Because right now you can see everybody is crying to find out who has got that talent, because it's everywhere needed. The curve, the bell curve has reached its climax. People are searching for this talent. Now, are you interested to become your consultant? So if you are not, of course, it's your choice. But if you are in, that's where we have to come and train you and guide you and tell you how to do the assessment, how to do the reporting, because it's a standard. So everybody who has got that standard, that is where you become a competent certifier and validate data. All of you know about collecting data, but is your data validated and verified? Who verify your data? That is why we know any data that is related to sustainability must be reported according to standards. So if you don't have it, that's why you need to learn how to certify that data. Now, that is a lot of analyticals. Now you talk about AI, you talk about STEM, you talk about analytics, you talk about artificial intelligence and so on. But even with sustainability data, people do not know how to make the analytics. So there's another field of work that needs to be done. We haven't gone into that kind of project because we are still looking at your mindset. Do you have the impact mindset? Do you contribute impact, or you are just doing a project for the sake of a project? That's why we look at P5, we look at the leadership of the project manager. We always ask, who's the leader of the project manager? Yang kita pening tu, bila orang tu dah letak project manager dia, leader dia, lepas tu bila kita dah bagi award, nak tukar nama. Why? What happened? When you submit your project paper, you submit with truthfulness, with ethics. If you are the project leader, you write down, you are the project leader. And who are the team player? You cannot change the name after you've been given an award. That is an ethical issue. Yeah. So that's why we always ask, when you write your project paper, you should know who is the people in your project. You cannot change anything after that because it drives out issues about why there is some changes in the last minute. So always this happened. It has happened twice. And we always want to take note on this because this is not something which is allowable. And we always be very strict on all this data, yeah? Because data is something very important. If you're going to manage data, and you're going to do someone else's data, and you're going to look at someone else's analytical data, ethics is very important. That's why in the P5, there is an element of ethics. There shouldn't be any other element that is going to destroy the integrity of the data. So it's very important people understand project management fully. It is a competency, and it is an element of driving leadership. It is just not a title, okay? So for those who wants to get themselves higher order, even now PMI, they are going ahead to move themselves because they do not have the skill. Now, if you see people are moving, it's because they know they rush for this. They want it, all right? So again, project management is something not static, it's agile. So if you are managing your project and you are looking at issues on sustainability, be rest assured, it is an agile process. It is not a bureaucratic process. It is a process that drives leadership. So anybody who's the project leader or the project manager, you need to be in control and you need to understand the risk management of it, and you got to control the benefit so that at the end of the day, you get to manage your impact and report your impact accordingly and be proud about the impact. It is not about the value of money. It is about the success of you controlling a lot of issues which we are trying to address, whether it's for the waste, whether it's for energy saving, it's whether the climate change and so on. That is the reporting that we need to do according to the GRI, G4, or according to the United Nations Global Campaign. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I know I've spoken a lot because it is an opportunity for me to share something I know that probably have never been shared before. And it is my passion to share with you things which you do not know, a lot of it is happening around the world. So it is our duty to share, especially when you are in the academic world, you are driving leaders. We want to make sure that you understand Sustainability Award is a leadership for you. So make sure you use these tools correctly because it is your trump card for your own project. So with that, MC, I pass now to you. If there's any question, by all means, I'm more than happy to answer. And if you have it in the chat, I'll be more than happy to it. But all my slides and Engineer Sham's slides, we will share with you after the event session. For those who have registered through the Google form, you will get all these slides and also the recording session. Thank you very much.
Baik, terima kasih Dr. Norsaidatul Mazelan atas ucapan yang padat dan menarik sebentar tadi tentang betapa